Isn't this how I start every life? By setting things up on the computer. I want to be able to see your comments. Again, it's just me. My intention is to hit this pretty hard and fast. Okay. Hello, Spastic Pug. Hello, John Royski. Hello, Line Cook Thor. All right. Hi, everybody. So, tonight I'm going to run a little bit different. Yes, I'm answering comments. Yes, I will talk back and forth with the chat as much as possible. But I also, my goal here is to have this mold knocked out in a good amount of time. Hello, Alexander Castle. Haven't seen you in a while. Christopher Lazote. Hello, Paul Bennett, Mr. Spidey, and Lisa, and Rob O'Brien, and DM Cash. Hi, everybody. So tonight is action, action, action. My goal is to mold this sucker and get this mold finished this evening. I need to start on the next head for this, and I can only do that if this one is finished. I have a small palette knife, and I'm freeing the clay. I'm just cutting the clay that is attached to the board that I sculpt on. You might note that I called it a Beast FX armature. It's my armature. It's the kind I always use. But since I'm selling them soon, I thought I might be able to use this as an instructional video. Hello, Robert Sicardi. And hello, Enigma, and Rachel Powell, and Ross, and Ken. Hello, everybody. So once I get it cleared off of the board, I think I've got almost all of it cut. Then I tilt it over a bit until I can get my hand behind it to place it on the table. This is now in the way. It's a liability. Let's get it out of the way. You want your workspace as clean and as clear as possible. I'm going to use that same palette knife. Normally, you use a little bit of clay to brace the sculpture. This is an area of the mask that will be cut away because it's just where it's placed, like up under here. And up under here, there was a board holding this up. So I have to add in a little bit of clay right there, which will be removed from the actual mask. All right. Yes, I haven't had an issue using Loctite inside. I don't know exactly what you mean about sculpting with clay dust on my hands. It doesn't bother me. I mean, if you want to wear gloves, you can wear gloves, absolutely. Little tool to straighten and clean down here. Small brush. Ears are definitely difficult. Just take your time on the ears. Really look at your visual reference and make them look like the visual reference. That is the only shortcut to ears is visual reference. Robert Sicardi, thank you. I appreciate your input. Thank you very much. Okay, so now that's nice and smooth. I just don't want any jaggedness to cause an issue while I am, once it's a mold, because that's going to become plaster. Whole sculpture gets pledged. I already did one coat on this while it was on the stand. This is a second coat of pledge. The pledge is going to help the clay come out of the mold a little bit easier. Now I have Vaseline. I'm going to Vaseline the table. I haven't really had an issue with it, with dry clay on my sculpt. I mean, I may not be that detail-oriented of a sculptor, but powder, you know, just keep a dry brush nearby and brush off your sculpt if it's a build-up problem. Yeah, or you can keep a little air line nearby, and that air line you can use it to blow off your sculpture every now and then. Don't blow too hard, or else it could obviously relocate more clay than you would like. I am running around here with the Vaseline. And the eyes of the bust, I did nothing to. So I need to put Vaseline on the eyes of this bust. See, this is the actual resin bust down here. Okay, and that is painted on. So I used a release. I Vaselined the table to not have the plaster stick to my table. This bust will allow you to do a flat bucket mold with a flat top. So that's going to be real easy for pouring up a half mask. The sculpture itself got pledge on it in order to help the plaster not stick to the clay so much. So now I'm just going to mix up some plaster. I have 24 ounces of water in here. That's what I like to start with, because I can get through all of phase 1 with 24 ounces of water, and then I'll do another 24 for fabric, and then maybe one more batch. Thank you guys. I'm glad you liked the sculpt. I appreciate it. I'm going to keep this one on point and stay down to business. So I have family in town. The truth is, I can't get in the pool until this mold is done. So I'm going to get this mold done. Good evening, everybody. Horns are a pain to mold. Normally I do my horns off of the, I add my horns after. It also just gives me more options. Okay, I am now set. I'm going to reach a cracked earth here very shortly. Alexa, count down 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
See that cracked earth texture starting? And I'm just redistributing the dry powder. But the cracks are already starting to show up in there. And I let this sit for 2 minutes. You mentioned that before, Enigma. My clay can stay leather hard for a day or so. I mean, it all depends on how you cover it, how much moisture is in it. I have some slight cracking up here at the head, and I'll show you since we have plenty of time. I don't know if you guys can see that crack right there. Yeah, so this is just a crack from dryness, but I'm just going to mold it like that, and then that'll be such a thin blade of plaster on the mold, I'll just scrape it with my thumbnail and that'll go away. So I'm not, it's not a big deal. But if you're not using wet clay, then it might dry out faster. If you're just using water-based clay. A lot of it depends. While I'm waiting on my alarm, I'm going to read what Rachel said a second ago. Well, Rachel, I hope that you fix your son's broken limbs quickly. But I understand. I probably would have broke his limbs too if he had broken a sculpture of mine. So I understand. Unless you meant the sculpture had broken limbs. Oh, there are some tiny cracks behind the ear. Once again, thumbnail, right off. Alexa, stop. I'm mixing plastic. I waited 2 minutes, and I was waiting for that to seep in. Enigma? Oh no. The demold time is way faster. Well, okay. Cleaning the clay out of the mold is way faster with water-based. The demold time is the same. It's just, that's how long the plaster takes to set up. So, you're looking at an hour after the mold is done, max kind of for me. I have no issue with it. I'm water-based clay all the way. It's wet every day of the week. If I only had one clay to work with, it'd be wet. All right, so this is a nice smooth plaster now. No lumps. I don't want any lumps. I'm going to vibrate the bucket just a bit to get any air bubbles to come to the surface. Have a clean brush here on standby. And do that a little bit. Get the bristles that are not well glued in, just get them off of there. Thank you, Living on the Bluff. Thank you, thank you. No, it doesn't, Enigma. Water-based clay is 20 times easier, in my opinion, on every possible angle. Hello, Stanley S. So my first thing I want to do is, right now the plaster is the thinnest it's going to be. It is only going to get thicker and thicker from here on out. So while it's thin, I want to put it in the most detailed areas that it has to go into. Because if it gets too thick, it might not go into all of those areas. So the first thing I'm kind of attacking is the teeth. Hello, Thomas R. Anybody has questions about the molding process, of course, you can ask. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate that. See how I'm just loading up my brush and I'm dabbing it on. I am not painting. This is the quickest, fastest way to build up plaster. If you put it on and brush it around more than I am doing, then you're just making what you put on there thinner. Your brush doesn't magically hold more than mine. Therefore, you're spreading it around, so you're putting on a thinner layer. The less you spread it around, the thicker it goes on. The thicker it goes on, the closer you are to getting finished. I don't pour it on because then I don't have control. I don't have control over the air bubbles. I want to watch it. And if I pour it on, that'll make a freaking mess. I'm not going to make a mess. I'm going to have minimal cleanup on this. All I've got to do is clean up my edges. If I pour it on, it goes everywhere, and I'm going to waste as much as I use. If I pour it on and then it runs down off onto this, that's almost guaranteed to happen. Well, this has Vaseline in it, and then now I've contaminated the plaster that I'm putting on my mold. I don't want that. I don't like to pour it on. Accidents do happen. But you know what? If you had broken your son's limbs, I don't know if I would have ratted you out or not. Sculptures are pretty important to me. Just tell your son that I'm disappointed in him, Rachel. Tell him that. I mean, ecologically speaking, that was a disaster. How many dragons are left in the world? He darn near destroyed one. Warmonger, that is an awesome story. That is a great molding story. Well, it's not a great story, but hey. Okay, you work outside Enigma with it? Your shop is outdoors? It would be harder to regulate wet place temperature and moisture outdoors. Line cook for Jamie Thaxton. Longest name in YouTube, right there. Yeah, messes can be mitigated. I mean, if I had to work in like an apartment kitchen or something, then I would probably use oil-based. And I would be sad. But I don't. So my life is good. So I have between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch almost over the whole thing already, just because I'm dabbing. And now that I know the sculpture is covered, I may pour some on the face. But I want it to be thicker so I can control it. My goal is by the end of this bucket, be ready for fabric. And then I will be able to, knock out that next stage of the mold. Would it make a difference to make a 4-inch brush? Well, brushes are normally measured this way, so a 4-inch brush would cover more, but again, I might not have enough visual over the details. I mean, you can do a lot of damage with a 4-inch brush. So, would it be faster? It'd be faster. Would it be more accurate? No. So, 1-inch brush. And also, like getting down in the eye cavity would be difficult with a 4-inch brush. I wouldn't want to bludgeon those teeth with a 4-inch brush. I mean, it's water-based clay, so even though it's leather hard, it's still got some dryness to it. Hello, Jerry Collins. Yes, I use burlap. I use large weave burlap that you get from the garden department of like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a garden center. I'll show you it in just a bit. It comes in a roll. It's 3 foot wide, and I think it's 25 or 30 foot long. I didn't used to use burlap, but I'm making thinner molds now than I used to. You don't have to use it, but make a thicker mold. I'm tired of lifting these big rocks, I'll be honest with you, so I'm making thinner molds. To make a thinner mold that's just as strong, you have to use burlap. There's no need to use burlap and make your mold 3 inches thick. If I use burlap, I can make my mold 1/2 of an inch thick. Thank you, Ken, I appreciate that. I'm sure that you rock. Rock, like plaster. Oh, Alex. Well, a lot of times you won't see air bubbles because what happens is you have laid plaster over a cavity and the air did not have a chance to get out of that cavity. It could happen in your nostrils, it could happen in the corner of the eyes, it could happen in a lot of places. I know I have big air bubbles underneath the ears right now, and I'm going to work on it, but my plaster's not thick enough. If I put it in there right now, what would happen is the plaster would go up and then it would fall down, and that would leave a very thin shell of plaster. So I'm waiting until my plaster is thicker so that I will be able to really shove it up in that hole and make it stick. Jordan, I don't normally bleach polycotton. Normally what I do is I paint it. Bleaching most fabrics weakens them. I do it a lot with like jersey material for costuming, but I know that that costume isn't going to last, more than 2 seasons or so. How long have you been watching, Ken? Once a mold has run out of useful life, I will break it up with a hammer and throw it away. Normally I make a master and I can just make another mold. See how I'm getting rid of all the details? Like now you can't tell really too much where the lips are. The nose is kind of hidden under a mound. That's what I want. I don't want to see those details. I don't want places that are crevices. I want it all to be nice and moundy. If there are crevices, then that means air can hide there when I do fabric. And I'm trying to even this out so when I can do fabric on it, the fabric lays over a pretty smooth surface. I have no idea how long we'll be on. I'm going to be on tonight until I get this guy flipped over and the armature out and then cleaned out. Hello, Robbie McCowan. Tut Works, good to see you on. Very cool, Ken. I hope you enjoy the content and look forward to seeing you around. One of my main goals is to be accessible, and if you have any questions or whatever, then you can ask them. We also have a Facebook group, because a lot of times a lot of the folks in here are also artists and they want to share their work, and it's easier to put it on the Facebook group so that we can all see it. And because most people can't put links up, then the moderators can grab an image and put a link up to it if they want, or if it's necessary. And that is the Stilt Beast Live Creepers group on Facebook. This is my first layer. The first layer is doing exactly what I want it to do. It's hiding detail, making the sculpture smoothed out so that I can get ready for fabric. Oh, gotcha. It's your streamer account. Bed sheets take paint just fine. I like spray paint on those most of the time. Or you can dip them in water and latex-based paint mixed together. That works well too for staining. Most bed sheets are like a broadcloth or a cotton of some kind. So, I mean, they take bleach okay. It'll weaken it, keep that in mind. And you want to freeze the bleach, meaning you want to stop it from doing what bleach does, or else it'll continue to break down the fabric. It's very important once you bleach the garment the way you want that you rinse it out, or else the bleach could keep going. Boy. I'm reading Justin Rudy's comment. What you can do is you can sculpt your teeth out of oil-based clay, like a monster clay. But thin, brittle pieces of clay, A, they're going to dry out fast, and B, sometimes you can break them off in the molding process. One of the reasons I don't want to use a big 4-inch brush. That was asked earlier. You know, imagine these fine needle teeth and I'm plowing in there with a 4-inch brush. Ooh, scurry. Hello everybody, Third Degree, good to see you on. And now my plaster is getting nice and thick. What that means is now I got it in my hand. See, that's my plaster now. And now I can go back in here behind the ear. I'm going to start on one end of the ear. I'm not starting in the middle. And I'm packing in behind that ear. Why am I starting on one end? So that the air that's already back there has a place to go. I don't want to trap air under there. So I use the plaster kind of like clay to just push it out. And I feel pretty confident that there's no big air bubble behind that ear. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. This is Karen, yes. I have no idea how long I've been on, but I feel like I'm making decent progress. My goal for this was about an hour and a half. Hello, Chance Speck. Thank you. Thanks for saying the teeth are cool. Or gnarly. It's very 80s. Cowabunga, dude. Radical. Make me break out my 80s words. Thank you, Chance Speck. This is very dry now. It's firm. All right, but I am ready for fabric. So a little bit left in my bucket, but really not a lot. How about a Lou Costello to go with the Frankenstein monster? Boy, not an Abbott? Well, I don't know if I'm a professor by any means, but I enjoy teaching. I like seeing how other people's minds make connections, because my mind makes connections a couple different ways, and to see a mind that works very differently from mine is always fun, and that happens. That bucket is clean enough for what we're doing. I think Lou Costello would be difficult. Justin, I'm glad that worked out for you. So this time I did 32 ounces of water. A little bit different. I buy my chip brushes from either Harbor Freight or Amazon. From Amazon, I buy them in a 100-pack, and they're about $16, I think. That's how much that is. I am going to go ahead and mix my plaster, and then I'll cut my fabric while we're waiting at 2 minutes. So, think about stitching hair onto a mat as opposed to gluing. Well, I think that sounds harder. Would it hold up a little better? Maybe, but I think you'd have a hard time hiding the stitching. Think about a doll with the sewn-in hair. It's okay. It requires more machinery than I want to have. Yeah, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like fun at all. I don't even like sewing up straps. This is going to be a hair thicker than normal. The plaster, I mean. Alexa, count down 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
Justin, I think that would be awesome to have you here, sir. Punching hair does suck, warmonger. What kind of glue are you using, Daniel? I'm going to just skip trying to pronounce that name in front of that. I'm sorry. Yeah, someone could. I mean, you could use a sifter. But I do plaster with one hand. I held it in a bucket and then I go. If you had two bad hands, then but you could hold a sifter. You could get a big sifter and and kind of shake it, or get a buddy, make them do it. Buddies love to mix plaster. Sometimes someone says, I want to learn to make masks. And I say, that means you want to learn how to mix plaster. So let's mix a bunch of plaster. And I trick them. All right, so I had a knife. It was awesome. It's for cutting this. Aha! Right, you did mix the plaster, Alex. Alexa, stop. If it sits more than 2 minutes, it just has even less lumps. So I'm okay with that. And also, that plaster isn't kicking until I start to mix it. It's chilling. It's not hurting my time really right now. The amount of catalyzing that's happening is very minimal. Only once I actually start mixing it will it start kicking off. So this, hey wife, great. About to start my fabric layer. Okay, so here's my burlap ready to go. Good night, Michael J. Lassiter. Okay, now I'm mixing the plaster. By mixing, I'm just kind of grabbing in and squeezing, and I'm making sure there's no lumps. Want it all one smooth consistency. I'm a little less worried about air bubbles now because they won't be up against the sculpture. Doesn't mean I want them. Still give it a rattle. Hi, Generation X. I like to wet it with plaster before I do the fabric, just because I think it helps it bind a little better. I don't want too much of a disparity between the burlap with the plaster on it and the plaster it's coming to contact with. The plaster that's kicking on the mold is actually going to kick faster even than the plaster in the bucket because of the warmth that's happening. Because there's already a chemical reaction happening. And this layer just gets it smoother. Even smoother. Like very white smooth. This is Karen. This is my Karen sculpture. Okay, feel good about that. Now I can start with fabric. I want 2 layers over the whole thing. You have to keep track of what you have done and what you haven't. Because maybe you can see, maybe you can't. Maybe I have the whole mask in frame, maybe I don't. Thank you, Brian, I appreciate that. I appreciate you asking for thumbs up on my behalf, Big Dog. Thank you, sir. Does help the algorithm. And I don't know if you guys saw, but at the bottom I did a folded edge. So that ring around the mask, if I do that all the way around, it's going to be actually much thicker than the rest of the mask, which is what we want. You have to kind of pry against that sometimes. So, gluing hair on, contact cement or clear silicone caulking. The best adhesive is Iron Grip clear silicone adhesive. That is what I like the best. It's just been proven to be stronger. As far as dreads, a big fat dread, well, as far as a big fat dread goes, you're gonna have to probably sew that on, because then you have a mask to contact area issue unless you have a socketed mask, and then you can increase the surface area that you're gluing that dread to. I don't know if that makes any sense, but hopefully it does. So this is a piece that's folded in half. So we did 24 ounces of water the first time. I did about 32 ounces of water the second time. And we'll see if I need another batch or not. We'll find out together. It's going to be close. Yeah, dreads are very popular on masks right now. And just sewing a dread on is not a bad way to go. But you know what? Even I use zip ties. I use the small black zip ties, and I just poke 2 holes in the latex, And then I use that little zip tie to hold that big old dread on. Hello, Ezekiel. I find zip ties to be faster than sewing, and they are less likely to give me immediate carpal tunnel pain. So my next mask, I've got a list I'm working from, and normally it's going to be on, I'll sculpt it Wednesday, and I won't know what it is until people vote on it. You guys kind of decide that. I did, and those dreads were foam, so they were very lightweight. Dreads made out of Kinkalon, which is what most people make their dreads out of, are actually a lot heavier. Good to know it's good in the future. Number 2 for the face. Don't know if you guys recall that. Yeah, I'm going to do like a 12 to 14 ounce of water patch because I don't need much. I'm running out of plaster. I could probably get by with this, but that's a rough call, you know. Do you want to shortchange yourself, or do you want the mold to come out right? Because what's the reason I wouldn't mix up more plaster? Because I'm lazy. I don't want my laziness to be the reason something failed. Yes, I have already molded the web store mask. I have not pulled one yet. The bore and the thing, I'm going to finish up sculpting one of them tomorrow, and I'll mold it tomorrow too. So that's going to be my day tomorrow. No, 3rd degree, it will be a contrasting look. He is going to be skinny. I'm going to go with an Ichabod Crane look. He's going to look a little bit like a very angry, evil Ichabod Crane, because it was a large farmer's wife and a not large farmer was the request. Yarn fall dreads or Kinkalon are the most common way to do dreads. I've never seen it done with pillow stuffing. Use pillow stuffing in a heat gun. Is that what you do? Boy, this almost feels like I could get away with this. But do I want laziness to be the reason why a mold fails or a mold breaks? I don't think that I do. So I will mix up one more batch, but I'm going to monitor this, and I'm going to clean up my plaster right now while it's wet. Don't want this mold to cut me in the future. Yes, I am going to add a flat, but I'll add a flat surface while it's still wet. I mean, why wait? These masks really kind of need a flat top. This is Ultra Cal. This is Ultra Cal that I'm using here, yes. And I'm just going to use this dirty bucket, and we're going to mix up some more plaster right now. Don't want to wait till tomorrow. Right now. Why put it off another day? Take this magic moment, do it right here and now. Right now. so that's a decent little bit of water. Dwell time does not change. What changes your dwell time is your humidity and the moisture that's already in the mold. That is what changes your dwell time. So guys, here's a situation that I'm in. I'm about to blow it. This is not going to be a straight, clean instructional video because I'm going to do an experiment. I've been watching a lot of videos on something called aircrete. And aircrete is when you mix concrete / Portland cement, and then you mix a foam into it. And that foam that you make with dish soap basically and water, and you agitate it with an air compressor, and you get a real rich lathery foam. Well, then you mix that, you fold it in to your concrete mix. Aircrete, look it up, really cool stuff. It's amazing. And I think I'm going to fold some Loctite foam into this batch of plaster. Here's why. This mold I could almost call done. I need a precursory layer on this in order to get it thick enough for me to say it's 100% done. I might only have one layer of fabric here, but I do have a good ½ inch of plaster there underneath the fabric anyway. So I feel safe trying this experiment here. But I'm going to mix plaster in this bucket, and then I'm going to foam Loctite into it and mix the two together and form it over this. So let's try that grand experiment. I'm going to back you guys up a little because who knows, I know I'm going to have, they always mix the concrete first and then they put in the foam, so that's what I'm going to do. And I don't think, even if this is a giant failure, it's not going to blow this mold simply because this mold is almost already done. It's a coating on the outside. I cannot imagine anything stopping this plaster from curing that's already on there. And that is the only thing that would cause the mold to not work. Okay, I have plaster here. Alexa, count down 2 minutes. I'm going to grab some Loctite and change my gloves.
Book's timer, 2 minutes, starting now.
Okay, guys, I'm actually switching. I'm switching to great stuff. Why? Because Loctite cures faster than great stuff. Great stuff takes, 10 to 20 minutes. This takes 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and use this instead of the Loctite. It should be the same. This cures with moisture. This is moisture. Robbie, enjoy your timer. I do not want to resculpt this, but I don't think it's going to happen. If I do, wouldn't it be even better because of the lessons I learned this time? The real treasure is the friendships we gained along the way. Yes, you can foam fill mask with Loctite. I can't imagine there being an issue with a reaction that would explode. Like, I don't see that happening per se. Possible, but I don't think so. I'm wearing gloves, right? This is perfect. Like, this is a nice mold. Alexa, stop. These little straws that keep the great stuff from going bad when you push them down, they suck. I hate them. They just cause problems. I am a blast shield. Woo! Sternamantante. I too want to see how well the two mix together. I mean, I'm thinking like worst case scenario, I'll know right away that it's not going to work, and I let this bucket die. You know, that's a possibility. But let's mix the plaster. I don't think it's that bad. Like, they use foam, but it's not a chemical foam on the air creep videos. And I guess I've watched, 4 or 5 hours of that. Different videos, different formulas and things. And I get the concept, so I think that this is going to work. But I don't know. I've never done it before. The straw is 100% underneath. Okay. There we go. I think that's enough foam. And we're mixing the two together. It does seem like they're mixing, and I think it'll take more. So far, this is going swimmingly. The moisture kind of has to make this kick faster, right? And the plaster doesn't care that there's something else in there. I've already started a chemical reaction. It may feel warmer than normal. Would someone please explain what I am doing? Axetrol, what I'm doing is I'm trying an experiment, okay? It is a grand experiment. The plaster feels different. It has a different consistency. So this was 32 ounces of water. And I'm going to try to get a can of great stuff into it. The chemical theory that there is foam, and we are... I'm putting a foam in. Why make the foam if they have foam in a can already that chemically hardens? Now, the Loctite does get harder than great stuff. So, ideally, if I were, worried, what I would do is I would let this harden and see what happens. But that doesn't line up with who I am as a person. So let's slap it on this puppy. And the plaster underneath is going to harden. Even if this just doesn't harden, then, I just scrape it off and add another layer. Hey, Rodney. Things are happening. I've never done this before, so let's figure it out. I've been wanting to try this for a while. Do have to switch gloves. This glove just got a hole in the finger, and I'm not willing to risk this stuff on my skin. You know, 'cause reasons. It does appear to be stable. I did want to get this mold done quickly, so maybe I increase the cure time. I don't know. So what it would be is this would be a lighter weight plaster that fills out and strengthens the mold. It is not uncommon for me to use polyfiber, and I'll add that into my plaster. It's almost like a cake batter consistency. And you know how, like, Great Stuff has those drag marks that it gets when it's trying to cure and you're messing with it? This is doing that. I have no idea what, like, the finished properties of this is going to be. I don't know if it's expanding. Like, it's hard to tell. And Great Stuff isn't, like, amazing at expanding, you know? So, Alexa, countdown, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, starting now.
It's definitely sticky. I need to find out what the properties of this material is, and then I need to find out how can I flex those properties and make it do other things, and what advantages do those properties get me. Here my family is throwing axes at my axe target. That makes me happy. It is my brother-in-law, my niece, and my sister-in-law. I don't know if it's rising. Like, I feel like I'm done. Like, I did what I had to do. Don't eat the gray stuff. No, don't eat the gray stuff. We don't know yet, Line Cook. We don't know. We're still figuring out how it turned out. It's different. Could this be a sculpting medium? Like, how long do I have? It's not, you know, it's not like super fast setting. And that's what kind of what I was afraid of with Loctite, that it would set too fast. By padding, I can really get a smooth surface on this. So what I like, one of the things I like, is I like that it thickened up the plaster. So this is plaster that I mixed at a normal thinness, and it acted like thicker plaster. So far it seems to be bonding well. No, I mean, this is smoothing out. Over here is rugged, but as soon as I like tap it out, it's smoothing. It's smoothing just fine. It just smooths differently. Like plaster smooths when you drag a tool across it. If I drag a tool across this, it gets rough. So it's chemically changing. Like I can tell it is thickening. I don't know how long that will last. Man, you know what? I told myself, Alan, get in there, knock out that mold. You'll be done in an hour. And but I couldn't resist it. I had to do a little bit of weird stuff. Okay, so what's funny is when I put my hand flat on it, I can feel action happening. Like I can feel, it's like I can feel bubbles popping. Is that gas coming out? Okay, so this is getting pretty stable. Other properties of this. Yeah, it's either degassing or still expanding. Okay, here we go. So here's a tip. If you're going to smell something that you shouldn't really smell to see what it smells like, set your body up in such a way where if you pass out, you fall away from the thing that you're smelling. That's a tip that I have learned over time. So don't set your body up where you're going to smell it and then fall into it. Set your body up so you have to kind of reach to get to it, and then if you pass out, you fall away from it. So let's smell this and see what it smells like. It has a great stuffy scent. I fell into burning plastic because the fumes knocked me out, and I hit myself really good on the stove when I passed out. To a degree, it's expanding. Like I can tell it's expanding a little bit. Yes, that's a distortions gargoyle on the shelf. It did hurt. Yeah, like one of you guys will probably like message Shannon and be like, "Hey, listen, I think Alan's unconscious in the shop." Alexa, what time is it?
It's 8:50 p.m. Hope you've had a good weekend.
Alexa, countdown, 10 minutes.
Second timer, 10 minutes, starting now. Do you want to name this timer?
Yes.
What do you want to call it?
Philip.
What do you want to call it?
Philip.
Okay, I'll call it a Philip timer. 10 minutes, starting now.
Oh, when I was knocked out, that was in my Orlando days, many, many years ago. Hooray! Hey, look at you putting up the new link. I ordered 6 of those shirts myself. It feels like plaster. It pretty much feels like plaster. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's a nice clean mold. It's a pretty mold. I'll have to do a batch with Loctite too to see if it kicks faster, because the Loctite kicks off so fast. That's a dang smooth mold. I mean, I'm very happy with that. I guess that is a little strange, Horror Beauty. You know what? I saw that that was an option of something to make for the branding, and I was like, you know what? I'll throw one together. So, and I had to place each one to make sure that you love throwing crap off the roof. I had to place each eye on the pattern in such a way where like no eye was like half cut off in the crotch or whatever, because you know sometimes those patterns are weird on leggings. Alexa, stop. Alexa, how much time is left on my Philip timer?
You have 7 minutes and 20 seconds left on your Philip timer.
I feel the warmth coming through the plaster underneath. It was very satisfying to pump great stuff into that plaster. I don't know why. The fact that they blended together so easy, kind of cool. Well, you know what? Maybe they did. Maybe they thought this was going to be a straight tutorial, and it should have been. I failed them. And there are more shirt designs coming. Just haven't had time. Boy, there's 96 people. Okay, so it is getting firmer. It's getting firmer. Yes, a half mask that. If someone wants a half mask custom, then it's normally $250, and if it's a full head mask, it starts at $450, and then it goes up from there depending. Rodney, that's very kind. Thank you, sir. Let's see what happens. So I don't know if I can actually say to you guys, well, see, at least I stopped you from doing this, but maybe you guys wouldn't even have wanted to do this if this fails, you know? The mold itself is kind of pretty. And normally I'll talk to them and I'll say, hey, listen, I have a mask that's similar, and with redressing, I could really change it to look like what you want. And they'll either say yay or no. And I'll be like, well, that is only going to cost you this much. But if I have to make a new mold, it's going to be this much. And I kind of find that my prices are acceptable for my skill level, sometimes on the low side. Okay, now it's not dragging. It sounds like it's actually hardening. This side over here is harder than this side. This is the softest. It obviously has the most new stuff. Beauty is only plaster deep. That's very true. And now I have a message that I have to read on my phone. Okay, that was quick. I don't think it sounds too different from plaster in the same situation. Maybe there's a little more hollowness to it. Hey Chad, stuff got weird. So, sorry about that. I really did try to make this a tutorial video, like, here's a simple tutorial on how to make a half mask on a head form. But then I realized something about halfway through. I didn't sculpt this on my new resin head form. I sculpted this one on an old plaster head form. And I want to do the video on a new resin head form. So there you go. L. Copeland, you're very kind. I don't know if it's slowed down the ultra cal. I don't think we're in that bad a shape. Well, go get some sleep there, Generation X. And this over here on this side is mostly hard. It has a plasticky quality, almost like it's EVA foam. This side over here is still not that. Although it's also hard to explain what it is. A little bit more to put on. I knew the mold was safe. Alexa, stop. You. I don't feel like I'm buffering. Am I still buffering? Someone comment. Yes, I'm back. Great. Okay, you guys had me very worried. Very worried. Alexa, countdown 10 minutes.
10 minutes, starting now.
Okay, it's firming up. It's firming up. But it's cool. It's not hot like it normally is. And it's taking longer to firm up. Audio lags are normally just you. Tell you what, this slowing down is giving me more time to clean. You know, that's good, I guess. It's almost there. It's just, I mean, it's harder up here, a little softer there, like I can dent it with my finger. And this side feels kind of like EVA foam is what it kind of feels like. Which is weird. No, it's not tacky in the least. Decontamination went very well. No, it's not tacky. It's just not hard. I don't know if it'll get hard. Like this side is harder, it's firmer, but it feels like a real dense EVA foam. I don't know if it's going to get harder or if that's it. I don't know if plaster has cured and the great stuff is just going to expand and break out of it. Not a pressure washer, just a spray bottle of 99% alcohol. And they change clothes in the other room and then travel through the shop. Boy, this is so interesting. Like its consistency, I think I could sculpt with it. And if it turns into rock, then, you know, that's cool. And then if I sculpted with it, what would its properties be? Would it be able to be outdoors? Is this a faster paper mache clay? What is it? Stacy? Tornado? Do I have to redo this mold? No, I don't. I don't think I have to redo the mold because it's getting firmer. Like this side was, even if it only gets like EVA, that's fine, you know. I just needed to make this thicker, really. I could have put straight Loctite on here as a platform for it to sit on. Right now, the experiment's going just fine. It's pretty. Like this is a really pretty mold. This is still spongy. Like if I push, see this nice clean line? If I push, I can dent it. Can you guys see that dent now? But I can also just fix it. So it could be useful for sets. An expensive alternative to what? It's a little spongy. Like I keep saying EVA foam. It feels like a dense EVA foam. And it's getting much denser up here on top. So it is kicking. Well, 1980, the way, what is this mold made out of? This is an ultra cal mold, but for the last thickening layer, I shot great stuff into the ultra cal plaster. And I mix them together. So there's a can of great stuff in this last layer of plaster. I don't know. I don't think it's much more expensive. Simply because a can of great stuff is not that expensive. A can of great stuff is about $4 right now. So that's pretty cheap. Maybe it's $5. I think it's going to get solid because what's over here is getting firmer, I would also think it'll be rock hard because it's getting there. Like this is solid. Hello, body geeks. Took that without welling or whatever. That's good. No, I would not teach such an experimental process. Except like to you guys. Like now. But I didn't mean it. It just happened. I think this head form is bad. Yeah, this head form is on its last leg. Hello, Hairy Beastie. What time in the morning would it be? You know what? Let's just do July if you're okay with that, because we have family in town, so. And they're from California, so they're real nervous about the coronavirus. Texans don't care that much. People get them out, you know. You just do. You work at it. I mean, a power washer will do it. Proper leverage. When you have a good handle in it, I just don't trust this handle. Like, I don't think this handle will stay. See? Handle bad. And I knew that. But anyway, because this head form was an experiment. See how white that is? That's actually plaster of Paris, which I hate. Doesn't have a lot of strength. But I sculpted on this so that someone else could sculpt on something nice. Because, you know, host and stuff. Alexa, stop. It's getting harder. Chad, don't be jealous of a mold until it's open and you see it working. This could be a beautiful disaster, my friend. No, this is a bad head form. I mean, look at how brittle it is. That's the head form itself. It's pottery. It's not powder plaster. It's plaster of Paris. I was experimenting, so I have an experiment on the outside of an experiment. This one It's okay to sculpt on, but boy, it's a pain in the butt to demold. Even pressure. Even pressure. There we go. Once that vacuum is broke, it comes off really easy. And I'm going to chuck that head on too. I have now ones that are made of resin that I like a lot better. But anyway, oh, behold the power of pledge. Yeah, one screwdriver in one spot, it was just breaking apart. But then if you put a screwdriver on each side and you pry up, then you're evening out the pressure, less pressure, and the mold held just fine. No, I mean, the sculpt is captured just fine, I think. I can't imagine any issues on that end. Oh yeah, this is fat face, so it's got a lot of clay down there. Whenever the brows come out in one piece, not uncommon for me to do this. Oh yeah. It makes me this happy every time. Raising my eyebrows. Anyway. I don't know if the mold is lighter than normal because there's a lot of clay on it. Once the clay is out, I can tell you if it's lighter than normal. Now the ears and stuff, I'll power wash out later, like everything down in there, because I did some pretty detailed ears on this. But I will have all the face cleaned out, I think, without too many problems. The teeth, again, probably the power washer. Here is a good chunk of the face is out. Oh, I can still power wash it, absolutely. And honestly, this plaster down here has gotten really firm. That's a rock. I would say it's lighter. Yeah, it's lighter than normal. That is interesting. So what do we call that? Do we call that ultracal stuff? Do we call it Great 30? What's the name? What would this material be called? And will it wick plaster? Will it wick latex, I mean? The foam is pure porous. The plaster is porous. Okay, so aside from some little bits, guys, our mold is done. Foam creep. Well, but it's not creep, it's plaster. So the experiment was, I mixed up Ultra Cal 30, and then I folded in Great Stuff foam, a can of it, into the mix. Yeah, I'll have to do a junk sculpt and test it out on the whole mold. Faux cal. But it's Karen. We got some picking to do in there, but that's normal. Here's her nose. Pick friends. You can pick your nose, but this is Karen's nose. It was actually not sticky. It wasn't sticky at all. Hops creep. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to put some of what I took off of this. Off of this, I took the bag. I'm going to wet some rags and put them in there. Mold is done. We made a mold. Okay, I'm going to moisten these rags up. Michelle, thank you so much. It was not a difficult process. It mixed together easily. It handled easily. It was actually easier to work with than just foam at that stage. So it was easier to work with than just straight foam at that stage. Who knows, man? Let's see what the future holds for this stuff. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I have family to entertain and dinner to eat. I'm hungry. You guys are awesome. And thanks for hanging out and watching the experiment and enduring all the crazy stuff. And you girls are awesome too. Thanks, girls and guys and girls, people of indiscriminate sexuality. That didn't sound right. I knew what I meant. Undetermined? Anyway, thanks for watching and hanging out, everyone. You guys are great. Good night. Goodbye. Go make stuff.